much for coming. Why don't you start by giving us an overview of where Kenya is in the fight against malaria and how this plays out against other African countries?
Maybe just to say that Kenya has a mosaic picture. It has a different picture of malaria in different parts of the country. We have endemic areas where transmission is throughout the year, and that is mainly in the lake region, that is the former Nyanza and Western Province. And we have the coast endemic region, which is around the former Coast Province. We also have another transmission area which is called the epidemic prone area, which is most parts of the Western Highlands. So most parts of Rift Valley, some parts of Western Kenya, and the highlands of Nyanza. Then we have seasonal transmission areas, which are mostly in the arid lands. That is most of northeastern region. Parts of Tana River in the former coast region and Turkana, they only experience malaria when there's been a heavy downpour of rain. And then we have, lastly, we have the low transmission areas, like where we are right now here in Nairobi, where there's not much of malaria transmission. Most malaria cases are imported from other regions of the country.
How are we doing in high transmission areas? Has there been any significant decline?
If you look at the picture from 1990 to now, there has been a decline, even though the lake endemic region right now for us is a focus point because it's the highest disease burden currently in the country. I must say that in the coast region there has been a lot of progress because now that their prevalence rate is below 5%. So anybody who wants to go down to the coast, I mean, they can enjoy their time at the coast. But again, we say please use the preventive measures even as you go there.
What are the, I mean, health is a devolved function now, but what are the targeted responses by government to this mosaic picture as you've painted it? What is happening in the western region, what's happening in northeastern, and what's happening at the coast, so that we're seeing the coast is performing better and perhaps not in these other areas?
Because the mosaic picture of Kenya, there's not the same intervention package that is given to all the regions of Kenya. So we have actually strategically put interventions in the various transmission zones. As per the devolved functions, we have produced county profiles which we have disseminated to each county, and we have shown them their picture, and we have told them how to plan in accordance to the picture that we have given them, so that their interventions are very, very effective.
And in the last 1 year since county governments took over, do you feel that they have put in place the necessary protocols to deal with malaria?
What we do as the national government, we have given them the national malaria strategy for them to use as a reference point. We have also reviewed their county plans to make sure that they actually are in sync with the strategy and that they have planned for the correct interventions.
And you believe this is being done?
We believe that is being done because we've actually reviewed their county plans.
All right.
Yes.
Tell us, I mean, there's a Lancet report that placed Kenya's decline at 25%. Give us the government figures, and especially what does it look for in terms of pediatric malaria? Have we seen a decline in this?
We have seen a decline in this, and if you even look at the figures comparing the Kenya Demographic Health Survey of 2003 and 2008, you can actually see a decline in the under 5 mortality rates. It has declined by 36%, and the infant mortality rate by around 31%. So yes, that has happened, and we do attribute that to, one, the targeted interventions. We have done a lot of mass net distribution campaigns since 2006. We did one in 2006, another in 2011 and 2012. We have also changed the malaria medicines to make sure that they are effective. So we are now using a very effective first-line treatment and also for uncomplicated malaria, and we have recently changed also the treatment for severe malaria. So those ones who are admitted also getting a new drug. We're also making sure that that pregnant mothers get a net. On top of that, also get preventive treatment as they go for antenatal care.
Yeah, about 5 years ago, so Kenya was in the lead in terms of research in dealing with malaria and coming up with new strategies to combat it. Where would you say we are now?
Kenya is still a leader when it comes to research, and Cambry has done us very well. And as I say, right now we're in the middle of reviewing our national malaria strategy, and it's all based on evidence from the research that has been produced in Kenya.
All right.
Yes.
What would you say is the insecticide-treated net coverage? Are we still giving away those free nets? As you've mentioned, there was a time when the government was very active in doing that, especially for pregnant women and vulnerable groups. Is that something that's still ongoing? That
is still ongoing, and we have several net distribution channels. Currently, our coverage of at least one net is at 83.3% in the households where we actually distributed the nets. The nets were distributed in epidemic and endemic areas. So most parts of Western, former Nyanza, Coast, and the epidemic or the Western Highlands. So that is where the coverage is currently. We are planning for another mass net distribution starting this year and spilling over to next year, because we're doing it in a phased approach. But the distribution in the antenatal clinics and the child welfare clinics continues. So we're covering everybody.
All right. As we wind up, I want you to quickly tell us what the symptoms of malaria are, what precautions one should take if they're traveling to an endemic area, and what are the, if you like, government-approved drugs, because you've referred to new drugs to treat, to prevent and treat malaria.
Okay, if you feel symptoms of a fever, and then you feel cold, hot and cold, that's fever and chills that we call it, you feel symptoms of general malaise, you're not feeling very well, you have symptoms of nausea, headache, and a lot of joint pains. Most probably that would be malaria. But now we do advise people, because of the low prevalence that is now in Kenya, we do advise people to make sure that you have a test before you actually go for treatment. The approved treatment that we currently give for uncomplicated malaria, that's people who can actually swallow the drug and they can retain the drug, is something we call an ACT, which is artemisinin combination therapy, that is available for free in all public hospitals, as well as faith-based hospitals, and you can also get at a reduced price in the private sector. If you do get severe malaria, you're going to get an injection, and you'll be admitted in a hospital. Currently, we advocate for injection at Tesunet. If you get severe malaria, that is, you have to be treated as an inpatient.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for speaking to us today and wish you success in your efforts to combat malaria.